All right, to demonstrate one of the reasons I get so excited about Node.js and why I think it's such an incredibly cool and powerful platform to sort of work with is I'm just going to sit down right now and sort of freestyle and write a little web server here for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our Emacs text editor here. I'm going to write a little script called webserver.js. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use a function called require, which is a sort of way to bring in modules. It's the primary way we're going to include functionality that the core Node libraries give to us, or even other sort of downloadable modules that we can get off the internet will be included in our program. And even the modules we write, even code we write, we will factorize out into different files and then include them using the require function. So I'm going to create a server, a web server, using the HTTP modules create server function. So I'm going to call it S, and I'm going to say http.createServer. And this function createServer wants one argument, which is a function. Now this function takes two arguments, or is passed two arguments, and that is a request and a response object. So whenever our HTTP server gets a call or somebody tries to communicate with it, it will call this function that we provide to it, and it will pass in an HTTP request and an HTTP response object. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually ignore the request, and I'm just going to say, hey, thanks for calling, like that. So literally, for any request I get, I'm just going to ignore the request, and I'm just going to say, hey, thanks for calling, and then kill the connection. I absolutely must do a res.end for any incoming request to sort of tell the HTTP module I'm done, and it can sort of finish the output and sort of terminate the connection. To actually get the server to start doing its work, I literally just call the listen function. And I'm going to tell it to listen on port 8080 just because it's kind of a traditional thing. And that is literally all I need to do to get our web server running. So to run it, I'm just going to say node web server here. And you'll see it does nothing, and it does not return either because it is still listening. So it's just sitting there listening for connections coming in. So I see it's running here. And I can actually here, using my curl command, I can say curl-x get, which says make sure we use the get method, which is the default, so it's not super necessary here. And I'm actually going to give it the -i argument as well, which tells it to sort of print out any response headers. And then I'm going to just say go to localhost on port 8080 and tell me what you got there. And you'll see we get a response. And first we get the headers that the response gave us, which is an HTTP 11200, which is good. It's okay. We see a date, and then we see a few other things that Node provides for us for free. And then we see our, hey, thanks for calling output there or something. So that's pretty cool. I want to demonstrate sort of one of the interesting things here, and that is if I do a console.log like this, and then I go back and I run the exact same program. So I'll kill the current server and start a new one, like that. I'm going to sort of run the same curl command again to sort of get it. You'll see actually both windows had some output. In the curl window, I got the response headers, and I got the output from the web server and stuff. And that is what I expect here. We send the response object, please send the user this content. But we also see here that in the sort of the window running the Node program as an executable, we here on this line told it also print out some output anytime I get a request. And that's what we saw here in this green window. A request comes in, and it's sort of a way for me to figure out what's going on in my program. And it's actually a crude debugging tool, which we'll use sometimes in our programs. So that's a pretty simple server, and actually that's a fully functioning web server. It does exactly what you want. And a lot of this book, these live lessons, are going to be about sort of expanding on that and sort of making those more robust, those more interesting, and sort of adding functionality to that. So great, we have a first web server.